Hey everybody, it's Missy with the Hip Kit Club, and I am here today with a layout for National Scrapbooking Day, and this is for my challenge over on the Hip Kit member forum. And I'm going to be scrapbooking these two pictures that are black and white, and my challenge is to use your stencils in a few different ways. I use it in 4 different ways, so I challenge you to use a stencil in at least 2 different ways or more. So what I'm going to do here is start with some white cardstock that comes in the cardstock kit, and this is clear gesso. I'm just going to prime the cardstock because I'm going to be adding lots of mist and sprays, and I don't want the paper to warp or to tear when I start to add a lot of wet stuff to it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is try to use my stencil as a stamp. Now, this is an experiment. I have not tried this. If I have tried it, I don't remember it. So I'm going to use some of my Shimmers products. Some of these are from my stash, and some of these come in the color kits. And 2 of them are in the current color kit for April. So I'm going to spray a couple of sprays of 2 different pinks here. And this is the stencil, the exclusive stencil that is in the kit this month as well. I had not used it yet. So I'm going to try to just dip the stencil into the spray. Now, it doesn't work very well. It works kind of like the plastic packaging technique, but in my mind, I wanted to kind of create the negative space around the butterflies and have all the color around the butterfly and then the actual butterflies be white. That did not work out that well. That's what I got. I was kind of disappointed, but I kind of went with it. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I put the gesso down. I think if I would not have used gesso, it might have worked a little bit different because the ink would have seeped down into the paper right away. And with the gesso, it kind of pulls up a little bit and doesn't do that. So I'm thinking that's probably why it did not work out as well as I thought. So I just kind of went with it and thought, well, I know for me, I love creating abstract backgrounds. So I just decided to kind of I gave it a thumbs down because I was disappointed right then. I was like, man, this did not turn out like I thought. But I'm trying to make lemonade out of lemons here. And so I thought, okay, let's just go with it. This is the second way that I use my stencil. The good old-fashioned spray your mist right through it and create the shapes. Now, I did flip it over and use it as a stamp that way, and you can see there it worked a little bit better. So I think if you want to try this, spray your mist onto the stencil and then flip it over and stamp it rather than try to dip the stamp into the spray on your plastic. It just did not stick to the stencil as well. And this is working out better. And the butterflies are still abstract with this technique. They're not as clear as just deliberately spraying the mist onto the stencil like this. So I just decided to kind of do a little bit of both. I'm going to spray through the stencil. I'm going to flip it over and use the excess as a stamp and just create an abstract background. You may see some butterflies, you may not. And I'm okay with that. And you could do this with any stencil you have. This is a blue color. It's called Jenny B Blue. I believe this is coming up in the May color kit. So look out for that. It is my favorite blue color. It's the perfect turquoise blue. And if you love turquoise blue or you create a lot of summer pool type layouts, then you need Jenny B Blue. It is awesome. Okay, here's the third way I tried my stencil. I don't know if you've tried this stuff, but this is glass bead gel. And you could do this with modeling paste. You could do this with texture paste. This is just something that I bought a while ago, and I've used it once. I wanted to try it again. It's basically like a glossy paste, but it has these teeny tiny glass beads in it. They're almost like the size of sand. They're very, very tiny, and you can see them better later when I show you some close-ups. But it's so pretty, and I just wanted to add a different layer of material on my paper. So I'm going to create a couple of these glass bead butterflies, and I'm just smudging it on with a palette knife. And I've let it dry, and I decided I'm going to try to color them. So I'm taking a little teeny tiny paintbrush, and I sprayed some of the shimmers onto my plastic packaging, and I'm just painting right on top of this glass bead gel. And it worked out really, really well. You'll be able to see it better, like I said, later when I can show you up close. But I found that at Michael's, and I believe you could probably get it at Hobby Lobby or wherever you buy your modeling paste. And it's the Golden brand, which is at Michael's. So, and it's right by the modeling paste and the gesso and things like that. So I'm just kind of going around and adding these 3 colors, the pinks, the aquas, and the teals. If you know me, you know those are my 3 favorite colors to use together. So you can see that there are butterflies on this page. It definitely turned out different than I envisioned in my mind, and that's okay. Sometimes you wind up creating some of your favorite pages when you make a mistake or when you do something that does not turn out like you planned. And the key is just to make it work and not chunk it in the trash and get upset about it because, you know, just keep trying. And that's what I did here. I just decided, well, I'll just make this more of an abstract background rather than super clean butterflies. And I made another mistake right there. I did not want that harsh line from the side of the stencil, so I just kind of smudged it a little bit and fixed it. Again, that's just something that I love about mixed media is it's meant to be messy. And if you mess up, you can always just smudge right over it, paint right over it, and make it look like you meant to do it. And that's part of the fun of mixed media for me, is experimenting and trying new things. And you never know what may work. This might look totally different if I did not use gesso. And you don't have to use gesso on mixed media products. It just helps strengthen the background paper. And I hardly ever use watercolor paper. I always use regular cardstock. And so I know when I'm going to be doing a lot of, you know, spraying or misting, that involves a lot of water. So I don't want the paper to rip. But if you're going to do something like this and you're not going to use as much ink, then you could certainly do this without gesso. It's not a deal breaker for mixed media. It just helps it. If you're going to do a lot of blending or if you're going to use gelatos, then the gesso really does help because it allows you to smudge and smear it and blend it around a lot easier. So now I'm going to work on building the rest of the layout. And I do wind up coming in with another way to use the stencil at the end. So stick around for that. I'm going to trim off 2 sides of my cardstock here and adhere it to this really pretty light pink paper. I'm going to go with these really light colors for this. I used a couple of the pattern papers to back behind my photo, and I also added some tissue paper to them, which I tend to do a lot. And that yellow polka dot paper is one of the exclusives this month, designed by Kim Watson. And you definitely want to get the May kits because she designed all kinds of stuff in this next group of kits. I mean, it's just unbelievably gorgeous and it's unique. You can't get it anywhere else except the hip kits. So definitely get your hands on that. I believe if you've already ordered one, I think that they've shipped or they're getting close to being shipped out very soon. And these pictures are of my silly child who is consistently making goofy faces. And yeah, I just love, love, love pictures of her making faces because that's just her personality. And I never want to forget all the phases of the different faces that she makes. And this was from a few years ago. So now I'm coming in with one of my other favorite techniques, and that's adding tangled thread. And that's just sewing thread, nothing special. I try to get as many colors as I can. And I believe that's light blue or the aqua color. And I went through my stuff from all the kits. I fussy cut 2 of those butterflies out again from the Maggie Holmes paper. And I had not used this really cute flare button yet. And it says, oh yeah, it's the perfect yellow. And there's the perfect space to go right in the middle of the pictures. So it's going to go there. And I debated about whether to use more of the fussy cut butterflies, but I only wound up going with those 2. I didn't want it to overtake the layout. I just wanted to use a couple of them for accents. And I just had to use this Pink Fresh Studio Sweet word because it was the perfect color, and it just was the best sentiment for this. It's just, the title is not going to be super creative. It's going to be Sweet Life. But the embellishments just sort of went so nicely. I just said, you know what, that's going to be my title. And I had not used any of these Pink Fresh Studio puffy shaped stickers yet. And so I want to use a couple of these squares, and I'm going to layer them on the photo and behind the photos. And I just think they add neat detail. You know, they don't really frame anything. These frames are so tiny, but I just use them for layers and for interest. And I'm also going to use some of the washi tape from the Pink Fresh Studio. I've already got one little piece of it there underneath Sweet, and it says Life in Pictures. And it's aqua and yellow, so it was the perfect color. This was a layout that I found just the perfect embellishments that were the perfect colors for the perfect place. And sometimes I struggle. I know I've had layouts before where I'm like, this does not go. I don't know. I don't like this here. I don't like this there. But this one was the opposite. This one, every time I looked at an embellishment, I said, oh, this looks great here. And I'm going to use that little fussy cut speech bubble from one of the Project Life cards. Again, I looked at it and it was the perfect pink. And then I went through the Chamel ephemera pack, and this little We All Deserve to Twinkle. It was the perfect colors. It matched. So it was one of those experiences where you're like, oh, I love this. That goes here. This matches this. And so that made me happy, and it made the layout go a lot faster. So I'm going to finish the title there, Sweet Life, and I usually almost always, what's the word I'm looking for here? Alter the wood veneer. I rarely leave it as is, but I like the way it looks as is on this layout because the colors are so light, and I like the wood color for this layout. It's light and it's not overpowering, and it just seems to flow. And I wouldn't know what color to make it. I didn't want any more pink. I've got enough yellow, and I've already got teal down underneath Sweet, so I didn't know what color I would make it anyway. So I just decided to leave it as is. More washi tape at the bottom, and I did add a little bit of stitching detail through that washi tape at the bottom and the twinkle up at the top. And I love the background. I love how it turned out. I love that you can see some subtle butterflies, and then there's just some smudges and some splatters. I like getting messy. What can I say? You know this about me. If you watch my videos, you know I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. So that's part of the fun of it. Gonna add a little bit of journaling. I do have my date stamp. And then I thought, wait a minute, I know something else I could do with this stencil, and that's just trace through it with a pen. And that's something else you could do with a stencil. And I'm sure there are many more ways to do stencil work on your layouts. So I challenge you to use one or more stencils in at least 2 different ways on your layout. And there's my final page. I love how it turned out. I was excited to try this stencil finally, and I think the results are great. There's a close-up of the glass bead gel. It's very, very sparkly. It's very cool. And I hope you give it a try because it's neat. But you do not have to use that on your layout for this challenge. Anything goes, one stencil or more in at least 2 different ways. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you over on the forums. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.